So I'm just going to get going. Just with a brief history of myself, I like to tell stories. I'm a storyteller. I also, I've worked with a number of entrepreneurs for a long time, and I always think the best advice starts with stories. And so I'm going to tell personal stories. There's little lessons to learn along the way. And so it's going to be half sort of, angel investing stuff, and then I'm going to go into Uber. And let's get started. So when I was a kid, I was a geek. And I was a coder from basically the 6th grade on. I had a Commodore 64, and I was jamming. Best text editor ever was on the Commodore 64 for any of the geeks here. I was playing I was building choose your own adventure games and things like this. My first company was actually when I was 18. I started teaching SATs. The first person I tutored went up 400 points, and then one of the fathers of the kids that I was tutoring said, let's start a school. So we did New Way Academy. I was the internal guy, so I created the course, I did all the teaching, I trained the teachers, he did all the marketing. It was a lot of fun. But then I got sick of filling in A, B, C, D, and E. It was just, I couldn't take it anymore. So then I started coming with a bunch of friends called Scour, and we were pretty much the original P2P pirates. So we basically created a peer-to-peer search engine and application in late 97. And we got sued, Frank took my thunder. We got sued for $250 billion by 33 of the largest media companies in the world. So we didn't have that in our back pocket, and we said, what are we going to do? Well, we turned the technology off, ended up selling it for about $10 million in a Chapter 11 proceeding, which I'll get into later. Very interesting to see your company sold in a courtroom in a matter of minutes. Do I hear a 7? It is 7.5, and there's 3 bidders. It's pretty hilarious. So what I did is I started a company after that. Basically, it was called Red Swoosh. And the idea was to take our deep peer-to-peer expertise and turn those 33 litigants that sued us, take that same tech and turn them into customers. So those dudes who sued me and shut me down were now paying me. It was like the ultimate revenge. And so the reason there's a light bulb is I went from this sort of rogue dude to trying to turn it and create a real business. I call this my innovator phase, let's say. Then I went, after that I did basically 10 years straight of P2P, and I was a little burned out, and so I started angel investing to just sort of unwind, recharge. I did pretty well. I sold Red Swoosh to Akamai for a good amount of money. We stayed scrappy because we started January 01. 4 of those years I did not take a salary. One of those years I was living at mom's. Not a lot of ladies. So I had to recharge. I like to say money will not buy you happiness, but it will pay for therapy. So I went into what I call my curator phase. And that is, basically I'm entrepreneurial at my core, but I was so burned out I couldn't do it myself. And so I was basically investing in really awesome entrepreneurs. These are 2 famous curators out of New York that built they're sort of scrappy. They identify talent very early, and they have this enormous collection, which is pretty fascinating. And that's kind of how I look at my investing, my angel investing. Now I'm in the driver mode. If you can just put yourself next to that, I love it. All right, so so Uber. And so this is I've done some stuff now. I know how to run companies. I've had hard times, I've had good times, and now we're hitting something that's really tapping into something powerful. And it's about hitting the gas hard. And Uber's a lot of fun. I'll get to that later in the presentation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my angel days and some of the things I did. I like to think of, some of my entrepreneurs that I work with, they think of me as the wolf in Pulp Fiction. That's the guy on the left, Harvey Keitel. This particular scene reminds me of a time when one of my entrepreneurs came to me and he said, I just signed a deal with a venture firm without the approval of the board. and he had 20 angels who didn't know about this deal. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, you get up at 5 a.m. and you have to deal with some shit, all right? This right here is, I had a company who had a billionaire investor who owned half the company, who had made some really bad investments and is basically on the verge of going bankrupt. He called us and said, we want to liquidate, I want to liquidate my 50% holding in your company, and I want to do it by next week. And there were some interesting things you can do, because when somebody wants to sell and they're in a hurry to, you can put the squeeze on. So we did some cool stuff there. This is just hilarious. Okay. All right. So I like to think, like, a lot of entrepreneurs would come to me. They have great ideas. They have the core of them, something really beautiful that they're doing, and an amazing entrepreneur, but they don't know how to raise money. And so I make bets, right? I don't sit there and wait for all the other angels to like get something done. I make bets, and I do what I call I'm a funding shepherd. So all those sheep, those are most of the angels and the VCs, and I'm sure I'm the shepherd. This is a horrible analogy. I hope none of you are religious, because you're just going to smack me down. All right, here we go. I'm having too much fun with this one. I was also sort of like the interim CXO for the companies I would work with. I wouldn't do like 500 startups, I'm going to invest in everybody everywhere. I'm throwing dollars, what up, make it rain. That wasn't me. Instead, I was the guy that would go deep with every entrepreneur that I'd work with. And I was the ringer. If they needed to go do an enterprise sale, bring them in. We'll dunk on you. And then, Frank talked about proprietor of the Jam Pad. I had a house. I made a little money, got a house, and I had I have a bunch of rooms. They're open, they're available, and nobody's staying in them. So, sometimes people would couch surf at my place, but mostly people would just come by at any time of the day when I was doing my angel stuff. And we would just have jam sessions like jazz musicians, except we're entrepreneurs. It was a different kind of artist, but an artist nonetheless. And curating, we talked about that. So who am I? I'm really freaking curious. It's gotten me into trouble at certain times in my career. I'm Rain Man analytical. I'll count toothpicks on the floor. Or if I'm on a hike, I'll count how many steps I made over 3 hours. It's weird, I know. I'm scarred. I mean, you go through a situation where you don't have a salary for 4 years, and you hear 100 no's for 4 years straight. 100 no's a day for 4 years straight, that shit breaks you down. Makes you a little angry and weird. But I also have Braveheart passion. I'm passionate about the things that I do. And I think anybody who knows me would tell you that. The things that I do are they're about heart, and they're about killing it. So some cool factoids, and then we'll start getting into other stuff soon. It's pretty hilarious. I can't believe I did this. All right. I sold $20,000 worth of knives in a summer. I don't know anybody else here who did the vector marketing Cutco thing. I got bamboozled into selling knives. Yes, I sold a ton of knives. Okay. I did get sued for the GDP of Sweden. That's $250 billion. Another factoid, I've had 3 different billionaires on my board. That's Michael Ovitz on the bottom. That was Scour. Ron Burkle on the right, hanging with P. Diddy, Puffy, whatever his name is these days. And Mark Cuban was actually involved in Red Swoosh. That was my last company. I sold a business in a courtroom. Pretty awesome. Talked about that. I've controlled a 20 million machine botnet. That was my last company. I never sold it that way. Probably one of a handful of people who knows how to do symmetric to symmetric NAT traversal. I'm a geek. I'm an engineer by training. If anybody wants to throw down on NAT traversal, let's do it. Here's a good one. Anybody here see The Social Network? The dinner where Parker meets meet Zuck and the other founder. I was at that dinner. Me and Parker were basically taking those guys out to dinner to really impress them and whatnot. And I was replaced by a pretty Asian woman. So I've had good times and hard times. Like I said, I guarantee it, and this is like how Gary Vaynerchuk does thumb wars with everybody. Says, I'll beat anybody in a thumb war. I will beat anybody at being the non-luckiest entrepreneur in the room. Definitely not unlucky, but damn, I had to do some time. I am non-lucky. I'm more non-lucky than anybody. So some of the collection of companies that I've done, here it is. This is the collection right here. This is my art collection. They're all awesome. Right now I'm doing Uber, as probably some of you know, and we'll get into some of the coolness there in a second. Jam-pad lessons, just some little sound bites, things I've learned over the years. Preemption is bad. If an angel or a VC comes to you and wants to preempt, wants to basically get in the deal before anybody else can look at it, and they're promising the world, and they're promising a fast deal, and they're promising rainbows and leprechauns and shit like that, tell them no. Create a process, get multiple people involved. That's the only way to protect yourself. I could tell a billion stories for how this goes wrong. I could tell stories where I've done it even after giving myself that advice and still screwed it up. VCs tend to kill founding CEOs. Do not believe everything you read on a VC blog. They're also founder friendly. They love founders. They exalt them, put them on pedestals. They're beautiful people. We're just the measly VC. It is in the VC's nature to kill a founding CEO. It just is. What it really comes down to is, well, let's see, is that CEOs that survive are CEOs. There are forces all around you when you run a company, especially as you're growing or even not growing. There are forces all around you to take you out, and the ones that survive are the ones that are supposed to be there. Let's see, this one, fake it till you make it is BS. I hear this all the time. People are like, I'm a hustler. Dude, I'm awesome. You gotta hustle, you gotta fake it till you make it, what up? And I'm like, that's bullshit. I'm like, you're lying to yourself and everybody around you, and I can see it oozing out of your pores. People who lie to themselves and other people, it's obvious to others. And what you're doing is you get to a point where either you can't sleep or you start sleeping 14 hours a night. And the only reason I know this is because I've been there. Fear is the disease, hustle is the antidote. It is scary being a founder and entrepreneur. It's hard. And the reason why you fake it till you make it is because you're scared. But faking it isn't going to solve your problems. Hustling is. Getting shit done is. What are you scared of? Are you scared you're not going to make sales? Go call 100 people. What are you scared of? You're scared you're not going to get angel money because you just need to get another engineer to make things happen? Go get your angel money. Go talk to angels. Go network. Go to conferences like this. Just make it happen. What are you scared of? Go hustle and get it done. Funding doesn't solve all problems. Yeah, everybody's like, yeah, I'm successful. I just got $1 million in the bank. What up? I just got $5 million or even $10 million in the bank. No, more money, more problems, right? So don't think just because you got money in your company's bank account that you're somehow successful, because you're not.